FIFA President Gianni Infantino says that Russia's ban from football should be lifted. Now, the war with Ukraine might well still be raging, and we've been seeing some terrible reports over the last couple of days about attacks on infrastructure and just how freezing cold it is in Ukraine at the moment. They are having such a tough time. But Infantino argues that the ban has achieved little beyond fueling hatred. He insists that someone needs to keep the lines open, despite strong resistance from other European countries and no plans for FIFA's council to actually vote on this matter, we should say. And he's also been busily defending FIFA's Peace Prize for Donald Trump, while also apologising for a joke about British fans. Right, yes. He's a bit of a plonker, Infantino, isn't he, actually, when it comes to it? Although I actually felt that his comment about British fans was, I mean, we can't really claim that we aren't known on the global stage. And I'm talking here about England fans in particular.
Yeah, he
for
said
hooliganism. Let's just be honest.
So what he said last week before, was that he was talking about how wonderful the Qatar World Cup was on his watch, and he said, and can you believe it? He said, can you believe it? No Brits. His word, no Brits were even arrested for the first time ever. Extraordinary. And obviously, football supporters associations in England especially said, well, hang on a minute, Gianni, because we have done a lot to clean up our act. And in fact, I saw a statistic that in one Germany-Poland game, there were more arrests for disorder than there have been since the 1998 World Cup in France, when England fans did pretty much go on the rampage in France, and those horrible scenes in Marseille. So,
can I just say, I was in Marseille. I saw those scenes, and it makes you, frankly, deeply, deeply ashamed.
Doesn't it just? I was in Lens.
Utter morons.
I was in Lens the match after Marseille as an England fan. I skived off work to go and watch the Colombia game. And my goodness me, I worked for Bloomberg at the time. Right. And my goodness me, you were made to feel like, I mean, sort of rightly, actually, because of what had happened in Marseille, you were made to feel like you were sort of marched through the street with police cordons everywhere. You were just like, you are not going to be allowed to have any sort of freedom, because look what happens when you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think those days are behind England, I would hope.
I would hope so.
Although, let's just be honest, you do just get a load of young lads, and actually they're not even young, some of them, people who work in the city well into their 30s, who just get tanked up and then utterly disgrace themselves and us in these beautiful town squares across Europe.
And you just wish it didn't happen.
But you do feel that Trump's America probably won't give them a very warm embrace. So they're unlikely to make the journey this summer, when, of course, England men are going to win the World Cup. So this is a very significant tournament, certainly for those of us who care about these things. Is it in any way possible that Russia could be admitted to international football? It's not, is it?
Well, I mean, the International Paralympic Committee have reinstated Russia. I mean, practically that hasn't done anything, because there were 4 governing bodies involved in those. 3 of them said no, absolutely not. And one of them, ice hockey, said yes, but it was too late for Russia to start qualifying. So, you know, the movements have been made to reinstate Russia into global sport. We have the Winter Olympics starting this weekend in Milan Cortina, and Russian athletes will once again compete under a neutral flag. But they are competing, and everyone knows who they actually compete for. So yes, I mean, it is not beyond the realms that Russia could return to international football. And Gianni Infantino saying this now is pretty much the first step in it happening. He said a few years ago, we're going to make the World Cup from 32 teams to 48. And everyone went, that's just ridiculous. That's like a quarter of everybody who plays football qualifying for the World Cup finals. You'll have teams like Cape Verde at the World Cup. Yeah. And guess what? We've got a 48-team World Cup happening across three countries, America, Canada and Mexico, and Cape Verde have qualified.
Yeah, and those, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure loads of other people are as well. Is there any chance at all that, in fact, we might pull out of the World Cup if some of Trump's, well, I don't know. I mean, can you imagine the furore in this country if the beleaguered Sir Keir Starmer had to withdraw the British teams from that tournament?
I mean, I think that's quite a long way down the line. I mean, I was sort of looking at sort of big sporting boycotts, and obviously you had 1984 in the Olympics, and then, the 1988 Olympics were boycotted by the Soviet Union. So that was the sort of heyday for sporting boycotts. But since then, there's been a bit of talk, but no real I mean, it would be astonishing, and a lot would have to happen, in Greenland and elsewhere, if there was even going to be sort of serious talk about England pulling out of the World Cup, and Scotland, of course.
Yeah, the immediate threat to Greenland seems to have gone. But look, who knows? I'm speaking on Tuesday at almost 3:30. Could all be different tomorrow. The FIFA Peace Prize that Donald Trump got. I mean, Infantino is trying to justify it. What does he say?
He says objectively it should have been a Nobel Prize. Is what he says, and he says, look, I was completely right. They basically, what FIFA did was make up this prize to give to Donald Trump, and he does like a bit of that. I mean, at the 2018 World Cup in Russia, he was given an award by Vladimir Putin that again was a sort of made up award in the same sort of umbrella of "Aren't you wonderful? Yes, thank you. Aren't you wonderful?" And that's what's going on here. I was looking about how much power he really has. I mean, what needs to happen? Because he technically could get voted out by the FIFA Council, but it's very theoretical. He's just been voted in again in 2023. He'll get voted in again in 2027. So, he does...
he's around forever, this fella.
Yeah, he does wield the power.
Right, OK. And what is his skill set?
I mean... He is obviously a very good political operator, and there is that sort of... I don't want to say murky, but it certainly has been murky in the past, world of kind of sports politics, and you have these sort of kingpins, and that's what he is. He's he rises to the surface, to the top. He likes the sound of his own voice. This interview that he gave today, saying that let's reinstate Russia. He quite likes doing that, and he wields the power, and he has a lot of support from a lot of the sort of the African bloc, for example, the South American bloc. In Europe, people go, oh no, but he goes, oh yeah, I always get criticised by England and Germany mostly, but who are the fans buying the most tickets for the USA World Cup? England and Germany.
Is that true?
Okay. Yeah, and the USA, obviously.
Suggests that people other than myself are sharing my confidence.
Yeah.
OK, so I was reading actually about England's hotel. I mean, it looks absolutely lovely. They've booked a hotel in, I think it's somewhere in Kansas, because they've chosen somewhere right in the middle of the country, because the journey times, they're flying, so that it probably isn't all that long. But obviously it's a huge country, and the games are being played right across America, although... England's games are all in the USA, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. And as far as we're concerned in this country, they don't kick off too late. I think Scotland have got a few middle of the night games, which is a bit frustrating. But yes, huge journeys for the fans, huge expense for the fans. I mean, he did do a little U-turn on the ticket prices at the World Cup, and so there are some tickets now available for £60, but largely they're several hundred, and for the finals and semi-finals several £1,000, even for the cheapest ones.
But also it is the flights, because the airlines just went straight in with their algorithms to put the flights up any time around those, and I know people who are trying to buy cheaper flights to go into South America or Central America and then travel through. But an awful lot of people are very worried about border control. They're very worried about doing these huge journeys, and the points of entry into America just may not be very simple anymore. You've got a lot to think about if you want to go and attend this World Cup.
And that's if you're an England or a Scotland fan.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a fan from one of the countries who's qualified, who don't have pretty easy access to the USA, Donald Trump and FIFA are saying, "I know it's going to be fine." But is it really going to be fine?
Well, I suspect not.
It's a good question, Vassos. Is it?
But let's just be optimistic. Scotland, I think they're playing Brazil, aren't they? Is it their opening game is against Brazil?
I think it
might
is.
be.
Yeah.
I've got my wall chart up already, you see, at home. But England, I mean, this has got to be, in my lifetime, England's men's greatest chance of winning.
You would think so. We have a particularly stellar generation of players who happen to be generally quite nice young men. You know, they want to play for England. They buy into this. You know, Gareth Southgate started this atmosphere in the England squad, and Thomas Tuchel seems to be continuing it, but with a little bit more of an iron fist. And we're paying him a lot of money, the FA. We have hired a winner to win us the World Cup. His contract doesn't extend beyond that.
Right.
So this is your job, Thomas. Go and win the World Cup, please. It would be lovely.
Do we know how much he's getting? Is it well over a squillion?
Oh, yeah.
Is it? Okay. Right. Thank you very much. I just realised that in my lifetime, England men did, in fact, win the World Cup. So I'm just acknowledging that. I just need to make that clear. I was very, very young indeed. Yes, in fact, I was 2. You weren't even alive.
No, I wasn't alive. So far today, we've heard how old Jane is and how young she is, and I just don't know where to go.
It's difficult.
I'm just going to stay out of it completely.
Very, very confusing. Vassos, thank you.
Thank you.